Welcome to the Social Media Detox Podcast. I'm Teague, and I am so excited to be joined by someone who I'm very excited to talk to. Corey, the co-founder and CEO of Dayo, a new app that pays people not to use social media. So Corey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and talking about this.
And I'm so excited to talk to you about your app and why you created it and how it all came to be. I think we have
Good.
a lot of, probably similar priorities working in this digital space. So just tell me
Mhm.
a little bit about Dayo before we talk about how you created it. Like what is it?
Yeah. So Dayo is an app, like you said, that pays people not to use social media. We really wanted to help people use less social media. I felt addicted to social media. I will say it, I'm an addict. I work on it daily.
Mhm.
And they designed it that way. There's a reason. And I think that is the most important thing. It's not like you went down some dark path. They basically took heroin and put it in everybody's pocket and then
Literally.
expected us to have the willpower not to use it or
Mhm.
use it more reasonably. And it's absurd on its face. But I'm a serial social entrepreneur, so I launched a company that was trying to get rid of plastic called Repurpose. It's the number one compostable tableware line. You could buy it at Costco and everywhere. And then I
Love.
launched a company called Weil, which was a company for women in midlife. But at every point, I've been looking for the thing behind the thing. So when I was at a magazine called The Advocate and I was working on gay rights, I was like, well, it's not really going to matter if we have rights if there's no planet to live on. So I moved into the green movement. And then I realized that 50% of the population for 50% of their lives, women in midlife, sometimes sit out a lot of life because of menopause and perimenopause. So that led me into that journey, which we can get into. And then ultimately, I feel like the thing behind the thing behind the thing that we are most going to need to grapple with as a society is social media. It is the thing that is eroding democracy. It is eroding trust in science. It is eroding our social fabric, and it doesn't have to be, I think, is the main point. And so we tried to figure out a way to get that, to be a part of that, to change that. And there's all of these stick models out there that yell at you. I mean, even your Apple phone, you could set it right now and it'll tell you when your 30 minutes is up on Instagram or whatever, but nobody listens. They just hit end. Or you can lock your phone in a box, like in the fridge or whatever, which is cool. Like if you want to do that, I'm not against that.
Mhm.
Or get a light phone and throw out the whole thing altogether. But let's face it, 99% of people aren't going to do that. So what do we do with the people who are going to live in the world we live in, not in the ideal world we'd like to have? And for us, Deo really wanted to tap into what is it about that that's addictive? What is it about that that's making you continue to scroll? And it's this reptilian response, right? This dopamine hit. You know all about this. You've written about this dopamine hit in the brain. And so we wanted to counter that with a similar kind of hit, not like go meditate and do something different. And it's like, that's all great, but like we need to really cut right to the chase. And so we thought,
Mhm.
what if we paid you? We literally gave you rewards for not using it. And the story I tell a lot is it was the 80s, mind you, but my mother wanted me to stop sucking my thumb and she painted it with all the taste, the evil tastes and all the things. And
Yeah.
nothing worked. She gave me $20. She's like, I'll give you $20. It was like six or whatever if
That's
you'll stop saying
huge.
your thumb. And I did. I did. So that kind of reminds me constantly, like there is that other part of your reptilian brain, that compensatory reward system loves that kind of idea. And so we set up a system that we could figure out a way to reward people with money. The way we do it is you earn $5 a day if you can use no more than 30 minutes of social media a day. And I'll get into why that is. You probably know. And then after that, you're going to see that $5 tick down. So you're going to have a FOMO, 498, 497, losing money. And the app's going to tell you how much each app is costing you, how much Instagram cost you, how much Facebook cost you that day. It's also going to tell you how many hours of your life you could get back, how many years of your life you could get back if you kept up the process. And then on top of that reward system, we have a marketplace where you can spend the dollars that you've earned on your favorite brands, direct to consumer, Bang& Olufsen, JBL, La Creuset, Rumple Blankets, you name it. And we figured the way to compensate them was to bring these brands in, basically offer you the best price on the internet, wholesale pricing essentially, without wholesale buying power.
Okay, so I love that, and it's a very exciting. I think it's very fun to gamify these things, and
Mhm.
and especially like getting a reward, even if it's like 5 cents, it feels exciting. So $5 is kind of a lot, actually.
Yeah,
And
kind
I
of a
want to
lot.
talk more about that business plan in a little, but I think
Yeah.
first, what I think is so interesting is like I've talked a lot about on the podcast, like I've had my struggles with social media, and I think a lot of us have, but I want to know kind of your experience. Like, what was the most triggering thing for you on social media? When did you realize you had a problem? How do you now work with social media? I know that's like a very loaded question, but first,
Yeah.
if you can just go back to like the impetus of this and like how you knew you had an issue, I think that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that I felt as addicted until COVID, like everyone else. So I
Yeah.
think obviously accelerated during the pandemic for everyone. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even use TikTok during the pandemic. I didn't get into TikTok until later. Really, TikTok to me was the brass ring, like the overarching. Once I finally got into TikTok, which I waited till like 2 years ago, like when we were doing this app, I realized I could not do this without having an intelligent sense of what was going on that platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to explore it. And every time I tried to get into it before, I never could get into it, but suddenly it hooked me. And it had worked because of the election, because I'm a political junkie.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, the real thing was I read this book called The Attention Stolen Focus, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And when I realized that I knew it, but I really got it pointed to me starkly that we are the product, we are the widget, and the advertiser is the customer.
Oh
So I
yeah.
think that sort of started my entrepreneurial brain thinking this is a terrible customer experience. So why is that? And then once the election happened and I realized, oh wow, we're not going to be able to do anything if we do not have an agreed upon set of rules and facts. And we are not getting any closer to facts. We're getting further and further away from them. The more social media becomes dominant and then watching AI come in. So it was a perfect storm for me where I thought, oh wow, we're going to lose everything if we
Mm-hmm.
don't figure this out. I think for my business partner, Patrick, he was watching his young daughters and what was their life going to be. And, suicidality in young girls was reaching 25%. And Surgeon General came out with warning labels. It just felt like, oh, this is where I could lend a hand and do some good. Can I take I don't want to say business acumen, it makes me sound so great, but I've been doing this for, 15 plus years as an entrepreneur. Could I contribute to this? Is there anything meaningful that I could do? And when we came up with a system and started talking to people about it, they were like, oh no, I would do this. This would work for me. And then we tested it and it worked. And so I've just been following the breadcrumbs to me where I've been led. That's what I think a mission entrepreneur does. And in this case, I don't know. This is my mission. This is what I want to do now for a long time.
I love it. Well, yeah, that's something I've talked about a lot around the social media. It's like my big fear with all of this. And especially now, I don't know if you've seen all the stuff with the new Meta Facebook
Mhm.
glasses and like,
God,
it's just
and the
like,
AI companions.
and it's like, how much are we going to like lose the ability to form original thoughts and like be creative and like, how do we stop this, because at a certain point it's like if we're locked into like glasses and our phone and our laptops and all day we're looking at screens, it's like do we lose our ability to be human and have those human interactions and like feel things, and like that's like my big fear with all this stuff. I mean, do you share that similar fear?
Yeah, and I feel it. I can
Yeah,
feel the attention span shortening
of
since I
course.
started using TikTok, in particular TikTok. And TikTok's interesting because when I first started using it, I thought, is this even social media? It's kind of Netflix. I don't know who's on here. I don't even, all its bots and garbage comments, like nobody reads the messages. So I'm like, this is just really a video platform. So that's kind of felt benign to me, but it doesn't, only in that A, it enrages me like everything else, and that's its goal.
Hmm.
And B, it's really shortening my attention span. The idea that you want to move to something else every 10 to 15 seconds or whatever that number is, um, permeates into reading a magazine and a book and watching a movie. And
Hmm.
this is all very scientifically documented. I'm sure it's all in your book, but it's breaking our brains a little bit. And that concerns me because I was an editor at a magazine. I'm an avid reader. I'm a macro thinker. I don't want to be distracted all day, and I'm making myself worse.
Yeah, yeah. And we're just giving it feels I think the thing too is like it feels like you're being productive, or it feels like you have a relationship with someone, or it feels like, even on like dating apps, which I consider a form of social media too. It's like, oh, I'm finding a mate, so this is productive. So it's okay
Mhm.
that I'm doing this, or like I am checking in with my friends in the Midwest who are having kids or whatever, so it feels productive. But at the end of the day, like those relationships aren't it's not real, and so it's like I feel like we have to like get ourselves out of that thing, and even like looking at TikTok and feeling like it's entertaining and like maybe it's
Mhm.
okay for me, but
Yep.
it's this weird cycle, and so I think that's
Well,
how. Yeah.
well, and I think that there's an important thing about Dayo here, and maybe you feel this way, maybe you don't. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Some social media is okay. Some
Yeah.
social media is okay. And so I think we have to start to classify this more like drinking or sex or eating or some of the things that you're supposed to have some sex, not too much. You're supposed to eat some food, not too much. And so do we need to really, and granted, you don't need social media to live like you do food. And I guess in some ways you don't need sex, although you could say human contact is really required for the mammal brain to exist.
Yeah.
But if we have to sort of treat it that way, I think there's been sort of two camps. The like, for why are we even talking about this? And then the like, just stop it altogether. It's, it's going to kill us all or whatever. And that's just not going to work. There was a company recently, I don't know if you saw, like a bunch of ex-Apple people invented this phone that sits on your lapel and projects the phone into your hand, so you're not looking at a screen. And they raised like $1 billion, and within a year they went bankrupt and sold the IP to Samsung. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, in my opinion. People are not going to leave social media. So how do you integrate it into your life in a healthy way? And we picked the American Psychological Association's number that 30 minutes a day is net neutral to net positive. Because in theory, I'm supposed to go on and see your dog, and you're supposed to see my dog, or I mean, we both have dogs. Or if you had a kid or whatever, I'm like, oh, I actually know you, and I have a relationship with you, and I just knew that you had a birthday party for your kid, and now I got to see the picture. That's a net positive experience for you and a connectivity. But then you've stayed on, and now you're not looking at your friend. Now it's someone with a better house, a better body, a better life, etc. And all of that begins that cycle. So what is the number, right? And I think it's individual to everybody what a reasonable amount of social media is. And that's why the app is very much like, do what you need to do. Here are the tools. If you don't think 30 minutes is enough for you, I don't know, use 60. It's up to you. You won't get as much money out of the app, but I'm not here to judge you. And and the app also doesn't tell you to go meditate or do any, it's like, what do you want to do more of? You want to spend more time with pets? Okay, we've got this whole vertical for you to help you buy products for pets and work towards goals to help you spend time with your pets. And then whether you do it or not is up to you, but that's what we're here to do, is bring a solution. And I think that we just need to figure out a conversation about what this does, like cigarettes, what the technology is, what the addiction metrics are, how to treat it. But we're all grown adults. Smoke a cigarette if you want, smoke pot if you want. I don't care, but know the facts. And if you want help, we've got help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think too, like, I think a part of social media and being on our phones and constantly, being locked into these digital devices, I think a lot of us have forgotten what we want to do. Like, I have some people who have started doing the social media detox and they're like, wait, I'm bored and I have nothing to do. And I'm like, that's why there's a page in the beginning of the book that's like, hey, those things that you don't think you have time for, like, you're gonna have time because you're gonna be off social media for a few days, so like write those things out. But I think we lose sight of like what we want to do, because now, I mean, for me, like, before I had like really reined in my social media use, I would get home from work and I'd be on social media for hours and I'd go to bed, and that was like my activity for the night. And then like now, like, it takes a little discipline and like a little bit of self-awareness to be like, oh, like, I want to go to the gym again, I want to see my friends, I want to go to dinner, I want to, so I do feel like I think it's cool that in your app you're integrating like, hey, do you want to spend more time with your pets? What do you want to do? So tell me about what the app looks like, and how are you paying people? Where's this money coming from?
Yeah. Well, the money is technically a credit. I mean,
Okay, a credit. Oh,
it's
I
real
see.
money because we're going to give you the best price on the internet for the products you earn. So
Okay.
let's say you wanted a Bang& Olufsen system that we have with our partner on our platform. You would set it as a goal. You would work towards it. You're going to get, a massive discount when you're ready to purchase it. But all of that discount is going to be what you're getting from email sign up, from Amazon, et cetera. The point is to offer you the best prices, but to earn the discount or earn the value. And the brand wants to do that because the brand wants you to use those social media. They want the halo effect of having been a part of that. They also want a customer, let's be honest, and customers are more and more difficult to acquire. And this customer is somebody that in theory is not responding to your big meta campaign because they actually don't like it so much they downloaded an app to get away from it.
Yeah.
And then the customer is going to work for that Bang & Olufsen. They're going to set it as a goal, and it might take them 2 weeks to earn the credits to get the product. So that's a really primed customer. So there's really all win for brands. For consumers, we think it's all win as well because you want the best price on the internet. Why not get compensated for doing good behavior? And then ultimately, you're going to have better mental health. You're going to have less social media time. You're going to actually spend more time with your pet. So we really feel like we're building a virtuous economy. I know that's like an overused term, and most people don't believe people who say that. So I get it. But there's no nefarious intention. We take a small cut when you check out. It's all based on what we were negotiated with the brand. So you're still going to get the best price. You don't even need to worry about it. And that's it. I mean, that's basically how it works. You set it up through iOS. We don't have Android yet. We'll have it this summer. And you decide which apps you want to track. I don't track WhatsApp, for instance, because I have an Australian and a Canadian client, and that's all I use it for. It's to not pay international texting fees. So I don't track it. But maybe WhatsApp is your kryptonite and you need to track WhatsApp, right?
Yeah,
I use
yeah.
it for different purposes. So you decide and you can decide later. And the app runs, it'll track in the background, and at 30 minutes, a shield screen is gonna pop up and tell you, time's up. Do you want to keep scrolling or do you want to get paid? And that like moment, this break shoots up, it takes over your whole phone. And that was the unlock for me, because I personally think, oh, I've only been scrolling for 8 minutes. No, it's been 30 minutes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
been,
Time speeds up. The perception of time speeds up when you log on.
and then you need to put that break on. And then when you say, okay, I'm going to stop and get paid, all the apps you're tracking are going to gray out. So if you want to go back into TikTok now, 2 minutes later, which we're going to do because we have what's called popcorn brain, right? Where we keep picking up the phone. I mean, I have it, everyone has it. When you go back in, you're going to have to push another break. You're going to have to push through another wall to get back in. You're going to have to say, yep, I want to watch TikTok. I understand that I just said I didn't want to. And so now you've got two breaks between you and that infinite scroll, that endless doom scrolling. And to me, it's all about putting the breaks in place to make those decisions, because in the moment, we will make the decision correctly.
Mm-hmm.
We'll fail again 5 minutes later. We need help staying on our goal and our intention. If you survey people, they want to use less. They feel they're addicted. Over 60% of people feel they're addicted, but they don't know how to stop. So in that case, you need to put all of these tools around them to help them achieve it. And I think we have to stop treating this like a willpower thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. I think a lot of it is like being mindful, right? I mean, I'm sure you know Catherine Price's book, How to Break Up with Your Phone. And like she talks about
Yep.
that, like having the rubber band on your, just to like bring your brain to like, hey, you are logging on. And it's cool if you are, but like just know that you are. Yeah, I do think that's really interesting. So I want to ask you, like, from your purview, in a perfect world, if everyone were to download the app and like, what would life look like? Would the world look different if everyone were on this and everyone participated? What would that look like, in your opinion?
It's a really good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that yet. If the app could ultimately drive you and I to meet in person, so we earn the rewards. You're in LA. I used to live in LA for 20 years. We earn the rewards to meet up at, I don't know, the Abbey, let's say, or something. I don't like going to the Abbey, but
So
and we were to
fun.
drink at the Abbey, right? So you and I could earn a drink and meet up in person. If the app could send us together, that would be my brass ring. Can we all meet in an IRL place? Can we all get off our phones entirely through experiences? Obviously, purchases and rewards work. Physical things are great. People love them. But I think my goal would be to connect people. And so I think if we all the average user uses 2.5 hours of social media a day. If we use 30 minutes a day, what would you do with the other 2 hours? Imagine if everyone was using those 2 hours to be together, to be with other people. And that's what we were designed as humans to do. We were built as mammals to do that. And that's what we're missing. This to me is the loneliness epidemic. This to me is the suicidality in young girls. This to me is Scott Galloway's obsession with young men falling behind. This is what's happening. We're not together. Get off your phone, go see a human being. That's really the North Star for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I always think too, it's just like, I just wish we would just like have those human experiences, even if they're uncomfortable. Like, I just want to get back to that because I feel like so much of using our phones is like numbing and like putting, just like not being present. So I think
You're
that's,
right. You'd have to sit with uncomfortable feelings. You might have to have someone might be mad at you. Someone might say no, right? We live in this
yeah,
whole world where we just stay in a bubble in our ecosystem. I mean, I think you've probably seen kids are going, like, I don't know if it's Columbia or what school is teaching a class on how to talk on the phone to Gen Z. They don't know how to talk on the phone. They won't call people because they feel like, what if they don't want to talk to me? Like, I get it, right? I'm there too now, which is hilarious because
yeah.
I spent much time on the phone as a kid. But oh man, if you can't even talk on the phone, it's gonna be rough.
It's crazy. But the thing is too, like now society is adjusting for that type of behavior. I mean, I even like my nieces will go to McDonald's and they'd rather order off the robot than like
Uh,
order with a person behind the counter. And it's like that's just it. Now we're just like accommodating that type of but it's very strange because obviously there's people that were digital nomads and there's people that grew up with it, and it's just like a totally different world and universe that we're living in.
And some of it's just gonna be like we're gonna have screens at McDonald's. That's just happening. Like we need to
Yeah.
address that's not we're not going back to like people at McDonald's. That's not where we're headed.
Yeah.
But what else do you want to, and in theory, that doesn't have to be bad either. The speed
Right.
and efficiency at which technology moves us through life could be opening up all this time for us to be humanitarian literary geniuses, but that's not what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, in theory this should all be helping us. And I guess
Yeah.
in a way it does. I mean, I do like, AI and like everything has like I feel like been exciting for people. It's lowered the
Mhm.
barrier of entry for a lot of people to do so many more things. I mean, are you I actually this is interesting. I didn't even think about this, but are you at all worried about AI because you are I mean, would you consider yourself an app developer or like you're more so the business behind the app? Like what do you worry about people
Yeah.
now being able to do that?
I'm worried about AI. I was talking about this the other day on another podcast. To me, AI and social media are somewhat similar in that there's nothing inherently negative about them. They don't have to be designed. I mean, Blue Sky is an example of how it could be designed less extractive. The problem with AI is, of course, its exponentiality and the fact that we can't possibly predict what will happen exponentially to a technology every 30 days. It's beyond absurd to think we could control it. And I mean, it's as good as the humans that use it, right? And I don't have a lot of faith in the humans who are currently in charge that they're going to use it towards good ends. And I think we're in a nuclear bomb race, right? So I think we're going to have the bomb and we're going to blow up Hiroshima before we know what we have, similarly to the nuclear bomb. So I'm very concerned about it. As it relates to apps, it has made the development of apps great and fast. I think we didn't use it for developing our app. I do use AI in my daily life. I think if you're not using it, you're probably going to fall behind a little bit. And there is value in it. But the question is where to use it, why to use it. I don't think that I have the ability to tackle that problem in this scenario. So I'm hoping the social media use lowering will lower the use of AI because maybe if you don't have to create so much damn content constantly, we could use a little bit less of that, which would be more environmentally friendly, et cetera. But I think it's probably going to go badly for a while.
Yeah.
But I also don't think, again, just like social media, okay, as a premise, we're not putting the genie back in the bottle. So what do we want to do about it is really all I'm concerned with. Whereas I think a lot of people are still stuck on like, should AI be or should it not be? It's here. It's
Yeah.
happening. What do you want to do now is the question.
Right. Well, before the podcast started, we briefly talked about how the journey of promoting a product like that
The,
is talking about getting off of social media or even me with the social media detox. I feel like it has been a tricky line to toe because it's like I want to talk about it on social media. That is, you have to meet the people where they are, but it's also difficult because you don't want to encourage more social media use. What has that been like for you? Like, and has it been hard for you to pitch this in this social media obsessed world? Because I feel like I've run up against a few obstacles on my way of promoting this type of stuff.
yeah, I mean, some people, I guess more in theory, people have said that perhaps the social media ecosystem will like reject this or like, that they will, rally behind it like an immune system. I have always thought that the influencer, for instance, would be able to promote this as a concept because there's no reason why you can't sell meat. Or let's make a better example. There's no reason why you could sell alcohol, but you don't encourage people to drink 4 bottles of your vodka every day, right? That's not how an alcohol brand would go forward. So I think as an influencer, and I think that's kind of a loaded metaphor for an influencer, but like if you know that you're a part of something that is potentially hurting society in the long run, 8 hours on social media, et cetera, you can advocate for better uses of it and still use the product. I'm still driving a gas powered car while we build solar panels and a way to transition towards that model. So I think that influencers can say, hey, I feel like I have a responsibility to be socially responsible about the thing in which I participate in. I think, in fact, influencers who come to that side of the argument right now are going to gain incredible traction, incredible customer loyalty in a way that I think ignoring this problem and pretending, then you're just Exxon. Climate change isn't happening. Climate change isn't happening. Okay, well, it is happening. So Exxon could do something different with their time and energy in order to encourage better usage of, 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 energy. And I think similarly for influencers. And also 30 minutes a day, while it seems like so little, is a lot for an influencer. They should just spend 30 minutes with you, or 5 minutes on your video and 5 minutes on three other people they love's video. I mean, I think as an influencer, you could encourage them to limit the number of people they're taking in and make yourself even more primal. I mean, that's what talk show hosts do. They don't say, hey, you should spend 7 hours watching late night. They just watch Kimmel, and they'll advertise to tell you why it's Kimmel versus Fallon or whatever, right? Why
Yeah.
can't influencers kind of believe in a limited time? And so we've seen influencers, we haven't paid anybody anything. We've seen a couple of influencers already do this, and it's worked really well. And they're open. It's like, you might be wondering why I would say something like that. It's because I'm a part of the ocean I'm swimming in, and if it heats up or if piranhas are everywhere, it's not good for even me, the influencer. So I'm finding that there's more ease to it than I would think. However, it is still a business model, and they still want to get paid. So there's that scenario. I think that as a brand, how to promote on social, I haven't figured out yet, right? Like, I don't want to be on social all day making content for you, because I don't want you on my social media page, but I also need you to know my app exists and download it. So I've really been a lot trying to rely on earned media or partnerships. We've made a partnerships with Pal's Books, for instance, here in Portland, the largest independent bookstore in the world. That makes perfect sense. We're talking about the same thing. Get off and read. How do we widen our audience while limiting our exposure to some of these things like Meta? But at the end of the day, do we have to go to the bar to get the drunks out of the bar? Probably. We're probably going to have to delve into that Meta digital ecosystem to just so people know. I mean, an app like your book, it's just, do people even know it exists? Of course they want to consume it, but they don't even know you've written it. That's the attention economy we live in. So you kind of have to play the game, and it's attention. It's attention I want to own at the beginning, and then be transparent about how we navigate it, because I don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Well, my question too for you is, how do you? I don't know if you've come up against this yet, but I feel like some people who I try to talk to about doing the social media detox, they're like, I don't have a problem, and I'm like, let me just look at your screen time. What do you say to people about the benefits of getting off of social media and what it can do for them?
First of all, I think if people say they don't have a problem, then okay, to I'm not here to tell you whether you have a problem or not. I'm
Yeah.
not whether you're an addict or not. So I think you can't really reach people who aren't ready to be reached. It's just like
Hmm.
any other addiction. And also I think addiction is a very loaded term.
Yeah.
I use it,
Dependency.
but I think it's clinical. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, what I'm not going to classify as addiction. Whereas maybe if you're drinking in the street and homeless and pantsless or whatever, like maybe you've had a problem with alcohol. So what do I tell them? I mean, you can talk a lot. Mostly what's worked so far is the negative, the beginning with the opening. Like, did you know that 25% of young girls have not just thought about suicide, but created a plan? It's the second stage of a 4-step plan to kill themselves. Oh, that's a pretty alarming fact. Did you know, 68% of people say they're addicted? Did you know, like, you can go through these facts that really open up people's minds, sort of like, I think we have to highlight the problem. And I think where you're at and where I'm at too is, while I think people understand something's wrong, they don't really know what the problem is. And so it's important for people like you and hopefully me to highlight the problem. We're not fully out of the problem identification stage of the issue, right? So I
Hmm.
think we have a few years of people waking up, a few people every day, hundreds of people every day, like, oh yeah, this isn't going well. Um, so I think that that's what we do, is it's really just reach the people right now who've already understood that problem, and then secondarily kind of highlight the problem for people who don't yet get it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am always like, even one day off social media, I tell people, can really like reset your dopamine. Like, there's science backed information on that. So I do feel like, yeah, I'm always just like, no, just try it for a day. Just see how you feel. No stress, no pressure, but just give it a go. And I promise
To
you'll feel
go.
better. I can almost guarantee. Okay, so where do you see the future of digital wellness going? And how do you see Dayo playing a role in that?
Wow, the future of digital wellness is a big question. I think it'll be highly personalized.
Yeah.
You're already seeing apps that can personalize your meditation. I mean, AI is going to do all of that. I think Dayo will personalize as well right now, because it's our first version. It's, it tracks you to 30 minutes. You've got 2.5 hours as the total. It's got one delta. You can't go in and pick exactly what times you want. I mean, pick 45.2 minutes. I think that will eventually become that. Plus, I think we'll use technology to help you analyze your behavior a little bit further. so that you can create a dieting plan essentially to diet down. Because 30 minutes a day as the brass star, granted, not everyone's going to reach that. Even 2.5 hours a day, the global average use is a pipe dream for, someone who's on it 6 hours a day. So how
Yeah.
do I get that 6 hour day person down to 2.5 and then to 30? I think personalization will be the key. So it's going to be personalized. Everything's going to be unique to you. And I think people who aren't able to do that are going to struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell us what else you're excited about and the things you're passionate about. Anything else you want to mention while we have you here? Anything you want to
Oh,
tell us? Give,
overall, I'm
yeah.
passionate. I'm bully
The
about the future.
space. Yeah.
I'm excited about where things are headed. I look at things in the macro, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited about where they're headed in general. I'm really excited about how people are waking up to this problem. Um, and the fact that I, for the first time, feel like I'm on a tailwind instead of a headwind. As an entrepreneur, I'm usually trying to get people to eat their broccoli as a mission entrepreneur. So I tried to get people to use bioplastic cups instead of plastic cups. That's great. It's a great idea, but like hey, do you want to use this other thing that's slightly more compromised, but it's technically better. It's like it's a tough sell. Same thing with menopause. When I was in the menopause market, women are obsessed with being seen and heard and helped, but they don't really want to deal with it. Nobody wants to talk about menopause. This on the other hand, people are really jazzed up about it, and I've just never been able to make a product for the world that people I haven't talked to in years, message me on Instagram like, I'm using it, it's great, here's how it's working for me. So that really excites me that people are ready for change. Yeah, I mean, I think that's my primary excitement is where we could go as a society if we admit this is a problem, begin to tackle it. Like, could we see the cessation of smoking that we saw in the United States? Could we see that happen with social media? I don't really see why not with the right sticks and carrots.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and sticks and carrots, that's where you come in. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
no.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I do feel like I do feel hopeful. I always say I'm really grateful that we're starting to have these conversations. And obviously there have been people who have been talking about this for a while, but I feel like now it's getting into the zeitgeist. We're all acknowledging that it's a problem. I think that's the first step, and all we can do is just continue to, push the narrative forward and help people, be more mindful of their use. So,
And it's
we're
so new. There's so
yeah.
far to go. It's only like 20 years old.
Yeah, I know. Can you even believe? I always talk about that. It's like I can't believe that we've gone from like flip phones and razors to like AI glasses. It's like, wait, what?
Well, and for me, I mean, I grew up my entire childhood. I didn't even get the internet. I'm in Gen X. I'm just very tail into Gen X and 46, but I had the internet when I was 14, maybe 15. I mean, I didn't have a phone until I was in college. So each successive generation is less and less, but I am just as susceptible. I am just as addicted as somebody who grew up native. That's the thing
Hmm.
about it, right? I should have the immune system for it.
Yeah.
And I do find our early customers who lived before social media really respond to this because they remember a time when their brain wasn't hijacked, and we can get back to it. We really can.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think you're doing great work. And I'm so happy we connected, and hopefully we can continue to collaborate and talk
Yeah.
and be a part of the conversation. So
Well, thank you for writing a book and being out there, being an advocate. We got to do it together.
we got to do it, Corey. And we're doing it.
We're
This is
doing it. It's
exciting.
happening. Everyone listening here is going to be a million times healthier tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. Thanks so much for joining us, Corey. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.